Look at that lavender plant sitting in front of you right now. The stems are gray and brittle. The leaves have curled up like little dried-out fists. There's barely a hint of purple left. And if you're honest with yourself, you've already half decided to rip it out and toss it on the compost pile. Stop. Put the trowel down. Because what you're looking at is almost never a dead plant. It's a starving one. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to bring it roaring back, using 5 natural fertilizers you already have sitting in your kitchen, your bathroom, and maybe even your fireplace. Here's my promise to you. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your lavender collapsed in the first place. You'll know which 5 homemade feeds wake it up almost overnight. And you'll know the exact way to apply each one so you don't accidentally finish off the plant you're trying to save. No expensive products, no garden center trips, no complicated chemistry, just stuff that works, explained the way I wish someone had explained it to me before I killed 3 lavender plants in a single summer. So, if your lavender looks more like a tumbleweed than a fragrant purple cloud, stick with me. This is the rescue plan. Before you feed a single thing, you need to understand what actually happened. Because if you skip this part, you'll just repeat the mistake. Lavender is a Mediterranean plant. In its native home, it grows on rocky hillsides in poor, gritty soil, baking under the sun with hardly any water and almost no rich nutrients. That tells you something important. Lavender does not die from neglect. It dies from kindness. It dies from too much water, soil that holds moisture like a sponge, and from being smothered with the wrong kind of food. When you see those brittle gray stems, scratch one with your fingernail. If you see even a thin streak of green underneath the bark, that plant is alive and waiting. The roots are usually still holding on, just exhausted and choked. What it needs is not more water, and not a heavy nitrogen-rich feed that pushes soft, weak growth. It needs gentle, mineral-rich nourishment that strengthens the roots, sweetens the soil, and gives it the specific elements it's been crying out for. That's where these 5 fertilizers come in. Each one solves a different piece of the puzzle. Use them in the order I give you, and you'll be amazed at what happens within days. Start with crushed eggshells, because this is the one that fixes the most common silent killer of lavender, and that's sour, acidic soil. Lavender loves soil that leans slightly alkaline, around a pH of 7 to 8. Most garden soil, especially if you've been watering with tap water or growing in a pot for a while, slowly turns acidic. To lavender, acidic soil feels like trying to breathe through a wet blanket. The roots can't take up nutrients properly. So, even if food is present, the plant slowly chokes. Eggshells are almost pure calcium carbonate, the exact same compound found in garden lime, and they gently nudge your soil back toward that sweet, slightly alkaline range lavender adores. But here's the trick most people get wrong. You can't just toss whole shells on top of the soil and expect magic. Whole shells take months, sometimes years, to break down. You need them available fast. So, do this. Save up a dozen eggshells, rinse them, and let them dry out completely. Then, crush them as finely as you possibly can. A coffee grinder or a blender turns them into a near powder, and that powder is what works almost instantly. Sprinkle 2 heaping tablespoons of that fine eggshell powder around the base of your lavender. Scratch it lightly into the top inch of soil with your fingers and water it in gently. Within a week or 2, that calcium starts buffering the soil pH, and you'll often see new gray-green shoots appear at the base of the plant as the roots finally start drinking properly again. Repeat this once a month, and you'll never deal with sour soil again. If you have a fireplace, a wood stove, or even a fire pit out back, you're sitting on one of the most powerful free fertilizers for lavender that exists: wood ash. The pale gray ash left after burning untreated wood is loaded with potassium, the nutrient that's directly responsible for strong stems, disease resistance, and most importantly, those abundant flowers you're growing lavender for in the first place. On top of that, wood ash is strongly alkaline, so it works hand in hand with your eggshells to keep the soil exactly where lavender thrives. This is the fertilizer that often produces the most dramatic, fastest visible response, because a struggling lavender is almost always potassium-starved. But I need you to listen carefully here, because wood ash is powerful, and powerful things are easy to overdo. Too much ash will spike the pH too high and burn the roots, and then you've gone from rescuing the plant to finishing it off. Here's the safe, effective way. Take no more than 1 titalevi saspi of cool, dry wood ash for a medium lavender. Make absolutely sure it's pure ash from clean, untreated wood, never from charcoal briquettes, painted wood, or anything with chemicals on it. Scatter that single tablespoon thinly in the wide ring around the plant, keeping it a few inches away from the woody stem itself, so it doesn't sit directly against the base. Then water it in gently, so it dissolves into the soil rather than blowing away. Do this once, wait 2 weeks, and watch. You'll often notice the remaining healthy growth firm up and deepen in color, and new buds beginning to form. Use it no more than once every 6 weeks. With wood ash, restraint is the whole game. Now we shift from the soil chemistry to the roots themselves, and this is where the humble banana peel earns its place. Banana peels are rich in potassium and phosphorus, 2 elements that work together to rebuild a damaged root system and set the stage for flowering. Phosphorus, in particular, is the root builder, the nutrient that tells an exhausted plant it's safe to start pushing fresh roots out into the soil again. For a lavender that's been clinging to life, that signal is everything. You might have heard people say to just bury banana peels in the soil. Don't do that with lavender. A buried peel holds moisture and rots, and remember, moisture sitting around lavender is exactly what you're trying to avoid. Instead, you're going to make a gentle banana tea that delivers the nutrients without the soggy mess. Take the peels from 2 or 3 bananas, chop them into small pieces, and drop them into a jar with about 1 liter of water. Let that sit somewhere out of the way for 2 to 3 days. The water will turn a faint yellowish brown as the potassium and phosphorus leach out. Strain out the peels, then dilute that banana water with an equal amount of plain water, so it's not too concentrated. Pour this diluted tea slowly around the base of your lavender, just enough to moisten the root zone, never enough to make it waterlogged. Because lavender hates wet feet, only do this every 2 to 3 weeks, and always let the soil dry out fully between feedings. This is your slow, steady recovery feed, the one that works quietly underground, while the others handle the soil up top. Used coffee grounds come with a warning label, because they are the single most misunderstood lavender fertilizer on the internet. You'll see advice everywhere telling you to dump coffee grounds around every plant you own. For most lavender, doing that is a death sentence, because used coffee grounds are mildly acidic, and lavender, as you now know, hates acid. So, why is it on this list at all? Because used correctly, in the right tiny amount, coffee grounds deliver a slow trickle of nitrogen and organic matter that gives a recovering plant just enough of a push to put out new green growth without going soft. The secret is moderation and balance. You are not feeding your lavender a pile of grounds. You're giving it a whisper of nitrogen alongside all that calcium and ash that's keeping the pH in check. The eggshells and wood ash you've already applied counteract the slight acidity, so the grounds end up doing only the good part of their job. Here's how. Take used coffee grounds that have already been brewed, never fresh grounds, because fresh ones are far too acidic and far too strong. Let them dry out on a plate first. Then, take no more than a single teaspoon, scatter it thinly over the soil surface around the plant, and gently mix it into just the very top layer. Water lightly. That's it. 1 teaspoon once a month at the very most. Think of coffee grounds as a spice, not a meal. Use them like that, and you'll get a gentle flush of fresh foliage. Dump a mugful on, like so many people do, and you'll undo every other thing you've done. Respect the dose, and this becomes a genuine asset. I saved Epsom salt for last because it produces what is honestly the most satisfying, fastest visible result of the whole list, and it's the one people are most shocked by. Epsom salt, which is simply magnesium sulfate, delivers 2 nutrients that lavender desperately needs and that are almost always missing in tired soil: magnesium and sulfur. Magnesium sits at the very center of every chlorophyll molecule, which means it's the engine of green color and photosynthesis. When lavender goes pale, yellowish, and washed out, a magnesium deficiency is very often the culprit. Sulfur, meanwhile, helps the plant process nutrients and intensifies the fragrance in the foliage. Give a magnesium-starved lavender a dose of Epsom salt, and the green-up can happen astonishingly fast. Sometimes within just a few days, the existing leaves deepen in color and perk up, and new growth comes in vivid and healthy. This is the feed that makes you believe the plant was never really dead at all. Here's the method, and it's beautifully simple. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt into a liter of water and stir until it's completely dissolved. Then water your lavender with that solution, soaking the root zone. And if you want an extra fast response, pour a little into a spray bottle and lightly mist the foliage, because lavender can absorb magnesium directly through its leaves. Do this once every 3 to 4 weeks during the growing season. It's gentle, it's pH neutral, so it won't fight your other feeds, and it's the closest thing to an instant pick-me-up that natural gardening offers. This is your finishing touch, the one that turns a recovering plant into a thriving one. Now, let me tie this into a plan you can actually follow, because 5 fertilizers thrown at a plant all at once is a recipe for disaster. The order and the spacing matter as much as the ingredients. Start by fixing the foundation. In week 1, apply your crushed eggshell powder and your single tablespoon of wood ash to correct the soil pH and load it up with calcium and potassium. Give the plant a few days to respond. Around week 2, water in your diluted banana peel tea to start feeding the roots and waking up new growth underground. Move into week 3 with your Epsom salt solution for that magnesium boost and the fast green-up. And if your plant is showing pale, tired foliage, this is the moment you'll see the biggest change. Save the coffee grounds for last and use them only sparingly. That single teaspoon, once the plant is already showing signs of life, and you want to encourage a little more leafy growth. After that, settle into a gentle monthly rhythm, rotating these feeds rather than piling them on all at once. And through all of it, remember the golden rule that overrides everything. Lavender would rather be hungry and dry than wet and overfed. Let the soil dry out between every single watering and feeding. Make sure your pot has drainage holes or your garden bed drains freely. If you do nothing else, getting the watering right alongside these feeds is what separates a lavender that limps along from one that explodes back into a fragrant purple powerhouse. Within 3 to 4 weeks of following this rhythm, that plant you were about to throw away will be pushing out fresh, silvery green shoots, firming up its stems and getting ready to flower again. I've watched it happen on plants that looked completely beyond saving, and it never stops feeling like a small miracle. So, here's what I want you to do right now. Go out to that lavender you'd given up on, scratch a stem, and look for that little streak of green. If it's there, your plant is alive, and you now have everything you need to bring it back. Start with the eggshells and the ash today, and let me know in the comments which of these 5 fertilizers worked fastest for you. If this gave you hope for a plant you thought was a goner, do me a quick favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this channel reach other gardeners who are about to give up on their own lavender. Now, go save that plant. It's waiting for you. If this story changed the way you look at the struggling plants in your garden, please subscribe and follow our channel. We are uncovering the natural secrets that others have forgotten. Let's cultivate a better future together. Your next gardening breakthrough will be revealed soon.